I'm gonna give you the keys to superhuman strength, and we're gonna start right now. Okay, when we're looking at building superhuman strength, okay, one of the big factors is that how can we start at an early age, or even if you just got into fitness, okay? Think that you're an athlete or you're an individual that just got into fitness, you're 30, 35, 40 years old. How can we develop a really strong base? And in all reality, that's the one key aspect around superhuman strength, okay? So we're gonna give you 3 specific exercises. We're gonna give you progressions through all of those exercises. And then at the end, we're gonna give you a simple workout that you can do throughout the week, okay? So you're gonna have one workout on one day and then a second workout on the next day, and then we're gonna go back and forth. So the first big exercise, and this is something I wanna share, is that when I grew up, I was fortunate enough that my dad would talk about Herschel Walker. Okay, Herschel Walker at the time was not totally insane. He was the running back for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he would do 1,000 push-ups on a regular basis. And so one thing that I was fortunate enough with is my dad would say, hey, let's do push-ups regularly, okay? So at a young age, 10, 11, 12 years old, I was conned into just doing a ton of push-ups. And it all started with just being able to hold this position here, okay? So we would hold this position. At the time when I began, I couldn't do a single push-up. Not one single push-up. I was a husky kid, I was fat, okay? So one thing that we would do is hold here, okay? And then over time, we'd hold this for 30 seconds, and then we would start to go as slow as possible through that full eccentric, okay, as long as we could. Here, touch the chest, rest, and then try and get back up. Now we would put our knees down, get back up to that plank position in the push-up, hold that for 30 seconds, and do as long as a slow eccentric as possible. And I think that that's one thing that a lot of people discount with push-ups, is that they'll put their knees down and they'll do push-ups here, which is great. This is absolutely fantastic. But a real easy fix is to just go here, do this slow eccentric, okay, and build into the actual push-up. And then one final thing is that if we have athletes at the gym here that struggle with push-ups, we'll also have them do push-ups here, almost like an assisted diamond push-up. But when you have the bench that's a little bit higher, okay, you can actually do it a little bit easier. So now, that's one thing that we'll do. The next push-up, once we get into, would be classic. You're here, normal push-up, okay? Next one, here. And I really like to do that with somebody who has struggles on a bench, okay, to get their shoulder blades back. So guess what? When we do this, they start to feel how to press with their shoulders retracted here, okay? That's a huge, huge advantage to leading to a bigger bench press. And if we're looking at that 1,000 rep range, right, for push-ups, what I recommend doing is just starting with simple push-ups, okay? You can put your knees down, you can use a bench, but as you get stronger, you can start to manipulate things a little bit more, and you can start to use those very simple variations. Another one, okay, this would be the next level, would be doing push-ups on pipes here, where you can get a little bit bigger stretch. Now, okay, I'm here, and I have a little bigger stretch. The next thing could be, I put my feet up, and I wanna try and get deep in between, okay? That would be the next level. And then finally, I'll go here, before I do the explosive one, okay? And we might just do push-ups like this, and then clap push-ups, okay? So those are all different variations, and then the best push-up variation to build towards would be, let's say you have chairs, okay? Chairs in your kitchen. So that's a cool part about push-ups, is that you don't even need a gym. You can just do this in your backyard, in your bedroom, every single night before bed. You can do this, you know, wherever you want, in the park, okay? Now this one, you might have to use those chairs in the kitchen, okay? So we're here, boom, boom, boom. Big factor here, okay? We're talking about just push-ups. The big goal that we have, we give kids homework that they have to try to get to 50 clap push-ups every single night. And until they can do 25 to 30 in a row, they don't get out of it. And almost always that leads to them benching 315. Build up from that plank push-up into the slow eccentric. Try to get as much volume in as possible. When you first get into fitness, okay, if you have a 12-year-old kid or if you're 45, start with push-ups, okay? Get as much volume as possible. Volume wins. And when you start to do push-ups like this, and you can work through those progressions, okay, that we just laid out, you get to be an absolute phenom at just executing something so simple like a push-up, but that leads to shoulder strength, tricep strength, pec strength, and even core strength, okay? So this is the first key factor, okay, to building that superhuman strength. It's gonna lay that foundation. Now we're gonna get into the next exercise. Okay, so the second exercise, this is another key aspect around superhuman strength, and this is something that we've even talked about in another video with bodyweight training, is that we've gotta be able to strengthen our arms, strengthen our lats. I shared the story of me being the heavier kid, okay, and then going through and asking my dad, because we had these things back in the day called the Presidential Fitness Award, and I could do almost everything. Like, I could do the push-ups, I could do the V-sit and reach, I forget all the other weird tests. Maybe the mile run I wasn't the best at, but I was pretty freaking athletic. But I was really heavy. In first grade I weighed 120 pounds, and by third grade I was 150, okay? So one of the big factors I couldn't do was pull-ups. And my dad, when I would complain about this, my dad would say, hey, get outside and try to do pull-ups on the tree limb. So we had a tree right next to where I would be waiting to go to the bus. So he would tell me, jump up and try and do that. Now, I'm gonna take you through a little bit better progression for pull-ups, but if you're just getting into strength training, or even if you're somebody who's a little bit bigger, you can really use this progression to strengthen your lats and your upper back, and in turn get to the point where you can do pull-ups. So the first step would be, and this is where you would have to have some type of bar at your house. So if you're in the gym, the first step would just be bang out some pull-ups here, okay? So notice this is an easier reclining row. And what I wanna see is that my elbows come back as much as possible, and I wanna pull to the upper part of my sternum, okay? And I like to have my toes up, so I have minimal push from my feet. The big factor when you're doing reclining pull-ups is that I wanna see that retraction there, okay? That's the first step, all right? The second step, now notice that was harder, or that was easier because it was a little higher. The second step would be that we would build into hitting reclining rows or reclining pull-ups with a little bit lower position. We wanna think about this where we're trying to pull the bar towards our sternum, okay, and almost bend that bar around our chest. So what ends up being cool with this is that if you're just getting into fitness and you get really good at this, it's gonna help your push-ups. Remember the push-ups we just did where we picked our hands up? This, paired with those push-ups, is freaking awesome. So if we're at home and we have a bar, or we have even something that we can hang a towel around, we can do this and try to think about spreading the towel around our trunk here. Okay, that's a really, really good exercise. So we go here, and now my feet are a little bit further forward, and I wanna think about both, and almost pause, right, with your chest against the bar. Okay, now the next progression. This again would be likely something you have to have in your gym. You can get these rings online if you can afford to get these rings. They're absolutely fantastic. This would be the next progression here. Up, squeeze, 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 okay? So where does this factor into superhuman strength? The big factor around building your lats, building your biceps, comes into retraction and being able to get that sternum to the bar. If we can do that effectively, and we can get really, really good. We spend 6 to 12 months. Give yourselves 6 to 12 months. One of my biggest issues is that someone will say, I wanna do a pull-up, and in 3 months they still can't do a pull-up, or they can barely get one done. Give yourselves a year, because when you get to the point of at that year mark, you're likely gonna be at 8 to 10 pull-ups. The thing is that it takes a while to lay the foundation of higher volume. But once the high volume and the pathways are created, now you're going to build towards some serious execution of those movements. Okay, so the next point comes back to that story I was telling about waiting for the bus. Okay, this is where we wanna see a pull-up, and we wanna think about the big factor on this is not to just hold it. This is one thing I gotta give my dad a shout out for, was that he would say, try to squeeze, almost like raising your chest up to the tree limb, okay? Think about that and try and hold that as much as possible. Don't just sit there, actively think about pulling up. And then you can go back through that 7 to 10 second eccentric, just like we did with the push-ups. Now, the pull-ups are more complex, but if you get really good at them, especially at an early stage in your fitness journey, you're gonna have them basically imprinted long-term. And I will say that this is one big factor, is that because we prioritized this when I was 12, 13 years old, I'm still pretty freaking good at pull-ups. So it would look like this as that first progression here. I'd come up, okay, I would jump, and I want to squeeze, 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 and then I would go through that slow eccentric. And right here, go as slow as possible down at the bottom, okay? So I'd rest. You could rest 2 to 3 minutes, and then we want to jump and get back up there, okay? So I would jump, I'm gonna squeeze again. Go down here, and right through that mid-range, squeeze, 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 boom, okay? And the cool part with this exercise is that the next level, you start to get really comfortable past 90. And based off the strength curve, that's really the hardest part of the pull-up, is 90 to lockout. So when we can go through that as comfortably as possible, as we start to get stronger, the next phase is actually gonna be where we try to get a stretch shortening cycle and a little bit of a kip. That's gonna help really expedite the process of getting the pull-up. Okay, so we go here, I come up, and I wanna go down, boom. Okay, so I get like a little wave, and that's gonna get me back up to the top. So then we can go from that point into executing really good pull-ups. So that's a progression that we like to use here. When we execute that on a daily basis, ideally we get to the point where we're doing 35 to 50 pull-ups a day. But we gotta start with just getting the reclining rows in, just getting some of those slow eccentrics. Give yourself like 10 reps of the slow eccentrics. And we can do that every other day, and that's gonna help carry us and build that superhuman strength long term. But it comes down to mastering that pull. Okay, now we're gonna go into the third exercise. We're gonna go through the third exercise, and then I'm gonna tell you how you can combine those 3 exercises throughout the week to build that foundation to achieve that superhuman strength. Okay, so next story around the superhuman strength is that when I was in high school, one of the things that we had to do as a wrestling team is that we had to regularly do handstand push-ups. And the best part about doing handstand push-ups regularly is that you get to the point where your shoulders are really stupid strong. Now, I'm gonna give you a couple progressions, and ideally at this point, we've done the push-up progressions. We've been training for 6 to 12 months, and we can bring this in as that third key calisthenic that's gonna help you have that superhuman strength. Calisthenic movements can tremendously impact what you're gonna be doing with a barbell. Okay, so we think about barbell work and absolute strength and superhuman strength as just applying as much force in that 1 rep as possible. That's a fantastic definition, but I also think we have to look at the stuff we do early. The volume we put in early has a huge impact on that long term. So to get to that point of doing handstand push-ups, we can do things like this here, where we have our feet up and we try to have a little bit of a butt bend there, okay? So we try to just get a little bit more elevated here. Okay, so we want to change that angle of attack slightly. Now, we can do that. Let's say we get to the point where we can do 17 to 20 reps. Throw the old hat on backwards. The next thing that we can do is we can move. I'm going to show you this. Same position here, okay? And I want to get here, come down, back up, down, back up, down, back up, back up. Now, as you work through that, you can elevate the box. And then your butt becomes more vertical, and you can even take this away. You can put boxes next to it and try to execute a handstand push-up that way. You can do this here, okay? And that's gonna blow up your shoulder strength. It's going to increase your tricep strength. And if you can get to the point where you can bang out, again, 17, 20 reps here, 17 to 20 reps here, now all of a sudden, your tris and your shoulders are getting stupid strong. So you guys mastered those push-ups. Now, one of the big factors is that inside of our strength training app, Peak Strength, we have body weight only training, and we even have sports-specific based training. So if you're an athlete that's in football or basketball or lacrosse, or even if you have a specific hypertrophy goal or endurance goal, you can download Peak Strength by clicking the link in the description. Head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, download Peak Strength, and then go through the assessment, select what goals you have, and it'll build out a program specific to your needs. Now, let's get back to that superhuman strength. Next thing would be where I think we should be going with this superhuman strength. It would be now we got to build towards a handstand push-up. So once we can build towards a specific handstand push-up, that's when we take everything to the next level. We have kids that can do, like I mentioned earlier, 25 to 30 clap push-ups, 25 to 30 in a clip, and they can do 10 plus handstand push-ups. All of a sudden, Their benches blow up. Their dumbbell military press blows up. Their striking ability blows up because it's a baseline. It's the foundation for everything that we're trying to do. And I really think that's a big important aspect, is that if we're looking at body weight, we can manipulate body weight through different angles. We can add in explosiveness and speed work, meaning jumps, push-ups, changing just a little bit of the hand placement, and it goes a long way, and you don't even need a gym. Okay, so this would be the next thing here. We get our hands right outside this, okay? Come up, and I wanna come down, back up, down, back up, down, back up. Okay, and you can even get to the point where if you struggle with doing a handstand push-up, you can just hold this position. Just hold this and try to feel that tension through your shoulders. One thing that we even like to do is that if we have a weightlifter who struggles with the jerk, struggles in catching a snatch, do some homework. Go home, hang out, 5 sets of 30 seconds upside down. All of a sudden, your shoulder strength blows up and you have greater shoulder stability. Even baseball players will benefit a ton from doing this progression to get to that point. But it all starts with where we're going, with push-ups in the beginning, then pull-ups, then here. Now I'm gonna give you 2 workouts that you can go every other day with, and you can apply this into your own training. Okay, so this is the homework. I want you to hit 50 push-ups every single night, but there's a little twist here. Okay, we're gonna do 50 with 3 different variations, okay? Still just 50, but we're doing 3 variations along the way. We're gonna pair this with pull-ups. So ideally, you have a pull-up bar at home or you're in a gym. And this is gonna be a workout that you could get done in about 15 minutes. The big thing that I wanna start with is just doing the push-ups with the shoulder retraction. Okay, so we're here, down, up, down, up, down, up. Okay, so we're gonna try and get through. And the big aspect here is, if you remember, I said we're doing 12, okay? 12 of those, all right? Now, if we're somebody that struggles with pull-ups, I want you to do that grab and the slow eccentric 3 times. And for every set, you have to do that 3 times. And you just keep doing that. Grab, slow, eccentric, 7 to 10 seconds, do it again, 3 times. Okay, if you can bang out pull-ups, I wanna get to the point where we're doing 50 push-ups, 25 pull-ups. This is a great starting point to really developing that crazy foundation. Okay, and remember, I wanna do this specific ending point, finisher, or even workout 3 days a week. So Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we get here, we're gonna go on the pull-up bar. I'm gonna show you what I want you to do for the first set. I just want you to do just pull-ups, just banging them out. Right here, okay? Boom. Okay, that's the first set. I would go through, I'd get what, let's say 8, right? Now, next one. First one, we had the hands up. Second one, we're going just a little pop. Here, a nice easy pop, okay? So we wanna get to 12. Now, here, I'm gonna tell you, I want you to go down, pause, 1, 2, back up. Okay, so we're here. 1, 2, up. 1, 2, up. 1, 2, up. Ooh, 1, 2, I'm swaying a little. Up. Ooh. 8 of those. Last 2 to 3 sets here. Okay, so think about this. First 2 exercises, 12 each on the push-ups. Give me 24 to 26 traditional clap push-ups. You can get it done in 1 clip, 2 to 3, 4 sets, however long it takes you. Just do the work. We know when volume is equated, the gains are awesome. So if I can get 50 push-ups done 3 days a week and 25 pull-ups done 3 days a week, we're gonna get stupid freaking strong. We're gonna have superhuman strength. So just here. And then on the pull-ups, what I recommend doing is we can go slow eccentric, pause, slow eccentric, pause. That's gonna fatigue you quite a bit. That's gonna be probably the hardest one. So if you're a little bit weaker, I would do that first, but if you're more advanced, do that as a 3rd, 4th, 5th set of pull-ups. So that would look like here, let's pretend I'm out here, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, up. Ooh, okay, so we're gonna build through that. That's the push-ups, pull-up workout. 10 to 15 minutes. If it takes longer, that's fine. If it takes you an hour, that's fine. Do it 3 days a week. Now we're gonna do the handstand push-up workout with pull-ups. Okay, so now we're taking the handstand push-ups, okay? Now, if you can't do strict handstand push-ups, and I did think about it, I had my knees bent when I was on the wall, so I'm sure there's a CrossFitter commenting right now like, I can't believe you didn't have your legs extended, so I apologize that I triggered you. So what I want you to do first, if you can't do a traditional handstand, is that we'll do here, okay? Down, up, right here, okay? And try and get the head here, up, okay? If you have to do these movements, this assisted movement, I'm gonna raise the ceiling to 40 to 50 reps. So this would be like 8 to 12 per clip. We're gonna go back over to the pull-ups. I want you to remember from the push-up workout, this here would just be the first set normal pull-ups, okay? We're just gonna get set, boom, boom, and what I wanna see is typically the first set, try to get like 1 or 2 reps from failure. Try and bang out as many as you can on that first set. It will sort of make it harder to do everything else, but after a couple weeks, you're gonna get really freaking strong. So now we'll go back over here. Let's pretend I can do my handstand push-ups. And one thing I didn't even mention is that if you're here, hands on the floor, to make that more challenging if you're that strong, is you can get the parallettes, you can put boxes, you can elevate your hands so you get more range of motion. That's typically something that happens after about 12 months of doing this, okay? It's gonna take a long time to develop that. So when I'm looking at strict handstand push-ups and pull-ups, typically what we would see as finishers is 25 reps of each, okay? So here, our goal would be, let's say, something like 3 sets of 8 with each of them, okay? But we would build towards that. So here, first set we did over there on the parallettes, second set we're here, right? I get set, come down, boom, 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 okay? We go back to the pull-ups. Rest for about anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds, okay? When I'm walking back over here, it's like, all right, I'm feeling good. Now remember, this is the set, because we banged out a lot of reps in the first set. This is the one where we wanna go a little bit slower, pause at the bottom. Slower, pause, okay? Here, go pull up. 1, 2, up. 1, 2, 1, 2, up. Okay? And then the last set, we go back to the handstand push-ups. And this is when I'm already starting to feel my triceps. So remember guys, if you're somebody who struggles with a lockout in the bench, you struggle with military presses, you struggle locking out snatches or jerks, this blows up that tricep strength. So we'll get here, okay? Okay, I'm fatigued, so I'm only doing 3. I'm gonna come back over here, I'm gonna finish. And this is where I don't even wanna think about the eccentrics because I'm just fatigued. But I should pause at the bottom, try and hold that hollow position each rep. So I go here, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, work through that, 25 reps of each. So Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, handstand push-ups and pull-ups. It's gonna be hard to do these back and forth. It's gonna take a while to build towards this. Remember, I said 6 to 12 weeks. If you guys need help with your training, head over to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. If you want content similar to this, it's more bodyweight stuff, click on this. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.